tightening the reins. President Maithripala Sirisena determined not to let future local government members commit fraud. Painting the picture, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe insists that the looming mini polls is not an election to topple the government. Is it for real? Canteen owners demand a fixed price for the newly introduced biodegradable lunch sheet. They also, however, cast a skeptical eye over the product. A year in words. How was your 2017?
I should say stable and manageable.
It's been a landmark year for us.
Not that good.
The rich have become fabulously rich.
The Iron Fist. Iran takes a stern stand on anti-government protesters. Bring you news from home and across the world. This is First at 9 on Other Derana 24/7. Good evening. I'm Katharina Chang. Now, as Sri Lanka eagerly awaits the dawn of the new year, New Zealand and Australia have already seen the sun rise in 2018. Right at this very moment, dazzling fireworks are illuminating the skies down under. New Zealanders were among the first to welcome 2018 with a fireworks display that erupted from Auckland's 328-metre tall Sky Tower. Thousands of revellers lined the waterfront to watch brightly coloured fireworks and laser lighting erupting into the night sky over the city's harbour. Now, with those nations greeting the new year, we Sri Lankans prepare to bid 2017 goodbye, harbouring hopes for a brighter new year. First at 9 took to the streets to find out how the people fared the past year.
The new year brings along the hope and promise to accomplish all that one couldn't during the past year. May it be improving your skills or trying something entirely new and different, the new year gives everyone a brand new chance. Many people set personal goals for themselves to achieve in the new year. It is also the time that people plan and list out their new year resolutions in order to better themselves and their lifestyles. We asked the public on their view of the country's economic journey and the overall development throughout the year. And we also asked them what they expect from the new year.
It has been, I should say stable and manageable. It has been quite smooth. We expect the year to be prosperous for us.
It's been a landmark year for us and our family. So it's been a really good year for us.
It's alright, as in like personally, if I'm talking about myself, there are ups and downs as always. But if you compare with the salary to the expenses, it's too much. I hope the country's economy will be good. So let's see how it goes.
Economic journey, it's not that good. Hope that everything goes good next year.
Well, as in most years, have been ups and downs. The rich have become fabulously rich, and unfortunately, the poor are getting poorer. And as for the middle class, they are being slowly and steadily being crushed out of existence. It is sad for the economy of any country. I hope that things will turn out to be better.
Economic wise, very smooth compared to last year.
Leaving the past behind, be ready to seize the brand new year. We at First at 9 wish you a prosperous and a happy new year.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that he will not allow newly elected officials at provincial councils to engage in fraud and corruption. He made these remarks at a public rally held in Polonnaruwa today.
The Sri Lanka Freedom Party public rally for Nuwaragala was held under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena today.
This competitive society seeks to earn money by any way possible. You can witness this at different levels in various sectors. The country has become used to this practice, which has become a plague. I will be conducting a nationwide program with Pradesh Sabha councillors chosen through this election and everyone, regardless of who won or lost. Just as I mentioned during the presidential election, I wish to stress that we must develop this area regardless of party differences. I would like to request you to place your trust in me and the work we have done so far and cast your votes for the symbol of the hand. If we take the country as a whole, more than 50% cannot run for elections again because they have fraud and corruption cases filed against them. When we elect new chairpersons and councillors for Pradesh Sabhas, we must not let this happen. I will take up this responsibility. I will not allow them to carry out illegal activities like their predecessors.
Following the event, residents handed over letters stating their grievances to the president. Meanwhile, the president attended another public rally in Veheragala, Polonnaruwa.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasises that it is Parliament that can change the government, not the upcoming local government election. The Prime Minister made these remarks today addressing a public rally in Hatton to introduce the candidates contesting in the local government elections under the United National Party in Nuwara.
The meeting, chaired by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, was held at the DKW Cultural Hall in Nuwara. Minister Palani Digambaram and several politicians in the area attended the event.
We got together to establish a government, choose a president and gain power in Parliament. Now we're going to unite to win the Pradesh Sabhas, urban councils and municipal councils. This is not an election to change the government. Only Parliament can do so. We assured the supreme power of Parliament through the 19th Amendment. This is an election to choose representatives for urban councils, municipal councils and Pradesh Sabhas. We have to think as to who can manage these institutes best. We were the first to propose that the estate community should be given ownership of land. That was in 1994 and subsequently we had to leave the government. Others failed to implement it. At present, we have not only commenced the program but are also taking steps to build houses.
Executive Director of People's Action for Free and Fair Elections, Rohan Hettiarachchi, requests political parties and candidates to respect election laws and regulations during the election period. Speaking to First at 9, he added that PAFL was notified of 3 cases of election violence across the island today.
So far, we have reported 128 cases. Out of that, there were about 151 violations throughout the period. Again, we have reported 23 violence incidents, and today we have reported 3 cases, one in Valawaya, also Kalewala, Matale district. There was one assaulting case as reported. We have reported in Trincomalee, there were the government special project is using for advantage for one of the ruling coalition candidates in Trincomalee district. So far, we have reported misuse of the government resources and the government power, 19 cases. Bribing the people, up to now, 33 cases have been reported so far.
General Secretary of the United National Freedom Front, Maitri Gunaratne, says that the report of the Bond Commission, which was handed over to President Maithripala Sirisena yesterday, should be revealed to the public. He made these remarks today addressing a media briefing in Colombo.
The Bond Commission's report has been presented to the President. If this is good governance, that report should be made public. People should know what happened to the central bank of their country. There is no use in giving that report to the Attorney General. People should know who the culprits are. What has been mentioned about the Prime Minister in this report? Does it acquit him? During meetings, the President says thieves and thugs can't engage in politics. We request him to reveal this report, direct the Attorney General to file cases and put the culprits in jail. Those who were elected under the guise of good governance should be punished first. Later you can punish the relatives and associates of Mahinda Rajapaksa.
With the local government election within touching distance, election propaganda activities are well underway. In a bid to have a peaceful run up to the Election Commission laid down certain laws and outlined guidelines for political parties and candidates. In a backdrop where authorities are adamant to take election laws flouting seriously, police arrested 78 persons over election-related incidents from 9th of December to 6 a.m. this morning. Accordingly, 44 persons are arrested on 18 election law violations and another 34 are arrested pertaining to 39 election complaints. Police said several individuals who hope to contest in the upcoming election are also among the arrested. We now take a look at views expressed by political party representatives during the day.
This election is being held against this government. It should be considered as a referendum because they are selling off state property. All TV channels, including TV Derana, telecasted MP Sumandiran's statement where he said that through this constitution, the Tamil community is given a solution which is beyond the federal system. What this means is they are offering a Tamil Elam. If we are to give that now, why did we waste so many lives over the years? I see this as succumbing to terrorism.
Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka Podujana Peremuna's Jayala membership drive was worked off in Polpiti Mukalana Kandana today.
We gave them a country which exported rice and was prosperous. But now, all the forests are being cleared, there are bank robberies, and all the tuskers are being killed. They've even sold off the port and Mattal airport. Your children have only this country. Don't cut your own throat.
Another political meeting by Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna was held in Rajagiriya today.
They call Narendra Modi when we don't have fuel. Fertilizer is brought from Pakistan. This is the latest trend. It seems like we don't need a government anymore. They will even call Trump now, asking the US to give them GSP.
Meanwhile, several other politicians also expressed their views on the upcoming local government elections.
UNP supporters started working against us, sacking our supporters. That was when President Maithripala Sirisena saved us by asking us to join the government, solving all the problems. The support we gave the president helped stop some wrongdoings that the government would have done. SLFP parliamentarians have forgotten everything. It was the UNP who made Maithripala Sirisena the president. While being in a government established by the UNP, all these ministers are claiming that the UNP won't be able to win.
The SLFP, which joined hands with the UNP, now says that they have nothing to do with the UNP's fraudulent activities. Their union won't survive because both parties are trying to do the same thing.
President Maithripala Sirisena says that he wields the sword now. Those who didn't make use of that sword gave the treasury's key to the thief called Arjun Mahendran, who then gave money to Aloysius, Ravi and other cronies. Couldn't the sword have been used to stop all of that? They're trying to slow down the journey of the UNP by bringing up the Bond Commission report. We are asking the Prime Minister to establish a UNP government on the 11th of January. Those who try to establish power through racism were relegated to the dustbin. It won't be successful if others try to do the same thing.
The Central Environmental Authority informed on the 19th of December that the law banning the use and production of polythene sheets less than 20 microns in thickness will be strictly implemented from tomorrow, the 1st of January 2018. The chairman of the CEA, Professor Lal Dharmasiri, said offenders will be subject to a fine of not more than 10,000 rupees or a jail sentence of not more than 2 years or both. The ban was officially announced on the 1st of September this year. However, after continuous requests made by the Polythene Manufacturers Association, a grace period was introduced up to the 1st of January 2018. Meanwhile, addressing a media briefing in Colombo today, the All Island Canteen Owners Association discussed several issues related to the newly introduced biodegradable alternatives for food wrappers. Chairman of the association, Asela Sampad, demanded a fixed price for the new biodegradable lunch sheets.
මේ තියෙන්නේ හෙට ඉඳලා මේ රටේ භාවිතා කරන්න පුළුවන් ලන්ච් ෂීට් එක. මේ ලන්ච් ෂීට් එක හොඳ නැහැ කිව්වා. මේක මයික්‍රෝන විස්තර වැඩි හින්දා මේක ශරීරයට හොඳ නැහැ කිව්වා. මේමයි කිව්වා රෙමක. එතකොට මේ ලන්ච් ෂීට් එකේ මේ තින්ත වලින් print කරන එක අපි අහන හොඳද කියලා. මේක බැලුම් බෝල වගේ. මේ කෑම උතන්න බෑ. අපි අද මෙන්න මේ කුණු ගොඩක අපි මේ ලන්ච් ෂීට් දෙක තුනක් මේ ගොසිරි බෑග් එකක් අපි දාලා තියෙනවා ජුනි පළවෙනිදා අපි නැවත ඇවිල්ලා බලනවා මේ ලන්ච් ෂීට් එකේ මිල කීයද දන්නවද? රුපියල් 3.50 ඉඳලා රුපියල් 7 දක්වා අද වෙනකොට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන වෙළඳ පොළට. මේ තියෙන්නේ ආදේශක ආපු කොලයක්. මේ කොලේ වෙන රුපියල් 6ක්. නීතියක් ගෙනාවනම් අපි ගරු කරන නීතිය පොලිසියෙන් තහනමට. ඒ එක්කම විකල්පයක් කියනවා මේකට ස්ථාවර මිලක් තීරණය කරන්න බැරියයි මේගොල්ලන්ට. මේක අපි 775 ලන්ච් ෂීට් එකට රුපියල් 3.50 ඉඳලා ගෙවන්න ඕන. ඒ මුදල් යන්නේ මධ්‍යම පාතිකාර සභාපතිතුමා ඇතුළු මේ දාපු නිලධාරි මඩුල්ලටද? එහෙම නැත්නම් ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ අරමුදලටද? එහෙම නැත්නම් අනුරාධ ජයරත්නගේ අරමුදලට කියන එක අපි අහනවා. අද වෙනකොට මෙන්න බොක්ස් එක රුපියල් 4.50 තුන බොක්ස් එක මෙන්න අලුත් එක රුපියල් 10යි. මේ ඒකම මේ අරකට වඩා ගණකමයි මේක වෙන්න. මෙන්න සද්දේ උත්තර දෙන්න කියලා මධ්‍ය පාතිකාරිය. දවසකට ජෙල් පැකට්, සන්සිල්ක් පැකට්, එතකොට ඔය බොඩි ලෝෂන්, ඒ ඇතුළු සබන් කුඩු, මේ බිස්කට් පැකට්, මේ සියලු දේවල් දවසකට මිලියන 20 කට ප්‍රමාණයක් පොළොවට වැටෙනවා. ලන්ච් ෂීට් එකට අමතරව. පොලිතින් තහනම ගෙනාවේ. ගැව්වේ ලන්ච් ෂීට් එකට. ඇයි? මේක තමයි කෙලිම ඩීල් එක.
The Medical Faculty Students Parents Association demands that Minister of Higher Education Lakshman Kiriyala should withdraw his claim that the Sri Lanka Medical Council has agreed to accept the Saitam medical degree with 5 weeks of extra clinical training. They made this comment during a media briefing held in Colombo today.
Minister of Higher Education and Highways Lakshman Kiriyala said yesterday that the Sri Lanka Medical Council agreed to recognize Saitam students who undergo 5 extra weeks of clinical training as fully fledged doctors.
The Medical Council agreed to recognize the Saitam students with 5 more weeks of clinical training, and they will be recognized as doctors on par with those coming out of state universities.
The Medical Faculty Students Parents Association held a media briefing today in response to the statement made by the minister.
Does the SLMC exist to fulfill the needs of the owners of Saitam? We halted our protest temporarily. 5 parents sat down to a fast unto death to protect medical education and the education of our children even at the cost of their lives. We have not let go of our responsibilities. Saitam cannot give medical degrees from the 1st of January. The statement made by Minister Kiriyala was wrong. I see this as a conspiracy against the President to defame him and chase him from politics. The President should take care, as what was done to the others can happen to him.
Let us now take a look at some other stories making news across Sri Lanka.
"35 graphite miners in Mel Siripura who were abruptly terminated from employment recently are currently engaged in a fast which enters its 3rd day today. The demonstrators demand that they be allowed to meet the Commissioner of the Labour Department in order to present their grievances. The Bandaragama police arrested 2 individuals on charges of child labour. Following a complaint made on the 911 hotline, police discovered Ashan Pushpakumara, who was aged between 10 and 12 years, working for a cement factory in Kamburugoda. A fire erupted at a paper collection centre located below the Orugodavatta flyover today. Firefighting units of Colombo and Kotte successfully brought the fire under control. A 37-year-old man was killed in a shooting opposite a house in Ranmutugala Kadavata last night. Police say that he was shot at by 2 unidentified individuals on a motorbike.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back to the news. After a lapse of over a decade, Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau participated at the International Luxury Travel Mart held in Cannes, France recently, with the aim of promoting upmarket tourism to potential travel trade buyers from around the world. Sri Lanka tourism representatives met with the Government Tourism Promotion Authority of Republic of Monaco to obtain their support to conduct an exclusive promotional event in Monte Carlo in the upcoming year. ILTM introduces global travel buyers to a collection of international brands with a diversified portfolio of 60,000 pre-scheduled business meetings and product segments exceeding 30 different travel sectors, with over 100 countries showcasing the international luxury product brands. Now, according to the Central Bank of China, it has been decided to maintain a prudent and neutral monetary policy while keeping control over the money supply. Releasing a statement following a quarterly meeting, the People's Bank of China said that it will endeavor to maintain reasonable growth in credit and social financing and keep appropriate liquidity. The PBOC added it will optimize financing and credit structure by promoting direct financing. The communique went on to say that China's economy is running stable but is confronting with a complex situation. It further reads that the global economy is gradually recovering, with a recovery in the developed economies largely sustained, but issues remain in some emerging economies and hidden risks lie in international finance markets. China's GDP expanded 6.9% in the first 3 quarters, well above the target of around 6.5% for the whole year. As anti-government protests continue to escalate in Iran, the country's Revolutionary Guards warn anti-government protesters they will face the nation's iron fist if political unrest continues. 2 deaths were reported as the demonstrators, which erupted over falling living standards, entered a 4th day. The protests spanning cities across Iran are the biggest show of dissent since huge pro-reform rallies in 2009. A Revolutionary Guards commander, however, said the protests had degenerated into people chanting political slogans and burning public property. There were calls for the removal of death of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in some areas. Iran's interior minister also warned the public to avoid illegal gatherings. Meanwhile, yesterday, thousands of pro-government demonstrators turned out for pre-arranged rallies and counter-protests. Egypt's former president Mohamed Morsi has been sentenced to 3 years in prison for insulting the judiciary. He has also been fined 1 million Egyptian pounds over a speech given in 2013. Former Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi was overthrown by the military in 2013 following mass protests a year after he took office as the country's first democratically elected leader. He has been detained since in a high-security prison. Morsi already holds other jail terms, including a life sentence. He is awaiting a retrial on a separate charge of conspiring to commit terrorist acts for which he was previously sentenced to death. The death sentence was later lifted on appeal. A report in the New York Times reveals that the investigation into possible connections between Russia and US President Donald Trump's election campaign began after tip-off from Australia.
Trump advisor George Papadopoulos allegedly told Australia's top diplomat in the UK, Alexander Downer, that Moscow had incriminating dirt on Trump's election rival Hillary Clinton. The newspaper alleged that the revelation came during a night of heavy drinking in London last May. Australia later informed the FBI, which, according to the New York Times, was the spark for establishing the Trump-Russia probe.
South Korean authorities announced that they seized a Panama-flagged vessel suspected of transferring oil products to North Korea in violation of international sanctions. While authorities did not disclose the date of the seizure, it is the second to be revealed within just a few days. Let's now take a look at some other stories making news across the world. South Indian actor Rajinikanth, who has a huge following in the country and is one of Asia's highest paid actors, has announced he is entering politics. The 67-year-old said that he will form his own political party ahead of the next Indian state assembly election, adding that it was his duty to change the system in Tamil Nadu state. Liberian President-elect George Weah declared the country is open to investment and pledged to tackle entrenched corruption in his first speech to the nation since decisively winning an election this week.
Those chosen to serve will and must be dedicated to the ideas of grassroots social transformation. Slackers and persons looking to cheat the Liberian people through the menace of corruption will have no place in our.
Firefighters battled ablaze in an apartment block in central Manchester today, with one person hospitalised suffering from smoke inhalation. The Manchester Fire Service said 12 engines were dispatched after flames engulfed several apartments on the 9th floor of the 12-storey building. A seaplane crashed into a river in Sydney today, killing 6 people on a sightseeing flight ahead of the city's New Year's Eve celebrations. Police have not yet identified the cause of the crash. Nepal banned solo climbers from scaling its mountains, including Mount Everest, in a bid to reduce accidents and deaths. The new safety regulations also prohibit double amputee and blind climbers from attempting to reach the summit of the world's highest peak without a valid medical certificate.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
On to the football arena. In the 2017 Premier League, Chelsea managed to register a 5-0 win over Stoke City. Willian scored 1 and set up 2 more as Chelsea cranked up the pressure on Stoke. Chelsea was 3 up at half-time as a sensational Danny Drinkwater volley came between goals from Antonio Rudiger and Pedro, both laid on by the brilliant Willian. In the meantime, Liverpool also won 2-1 over Leicester City, while Manchester United could only manage a scoreless draw against Southampton. Switzerland clinched victory in their Hopman Cup tie against Japan in Perth yesterday with powerful performances in the women's single by Belinda Bencic. Switzerland also won the mixed doubles with Bencic playing alongside Roger Federer. World number 2 Federer earlier secured victory in the men's singles.
Belinda Bencic beat Japan's Naomi Osaka 7-5, 6-3 in the women's contest to clinch Switzerland's victory in the round-robin stage of the mixed team event.
Let's now cross over to Shanla Fernando at the Other Derana Weather Centre for your forecast first evening edition.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Good evening and welcome to Forecast First. The first day of 2018 will be marked by an average of 27 degrees Celsius in coastal areas, with central hills yet again being hit by the lowest temperatures. A low pressure zone is expected to form over the southern half of the island and will gradually disappear. Well, the sun will be very welcoming in Jaffna, Manna, Vaunia, Trincomalee and Anuradhapura district. However, it will not be the same case in Batiklo, Kandy, Gaul and Matara, as they will experience showers and thunder showers. That's all we have from the Weather Centre tonight. Up next is your City by City forecast. Enjoy the new year.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Now, when you have the time, make sure you connect with us on Facebook by going on to our Facebook page, facebook.com/first@9. You can also follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/first@9. And before we go, we'd like to take you to the iconic Copacabana beach in Brazil, where hundreds of worshippers gather to pay tribute to Yemanja, the Afro-Brazilian queen of the sea, in a traditional New Year ritual. Yemanja is one of the deities of the Yoruba religion, brought over to Brazil by African slaves hundreds of years ago. As we reach the end of the year, we'd like to thank you for joining us, wishing you a prosperous new year.
bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.